progress.
We're going to make this a separate share because it's a totally different topic. And this topic also, you can skip this topic. Recently, somebody asked me, actually I had a very unusual offer. Without getting into many details, somebody wanted to know, there was a irreligious couple, and they needed a Masader Kedushin. They were going to do an out-of-country wedding, and they needed a Masader Kedushin. And put it this way, it was they were going to make it worth my while, not, like a half a year salary actually. Okay? And we're talking about, something, a very considerable amount of money. So I went to ask a shaila, can I be Masader Kedushin? The boy is Jewish, the girl is Jewish, but they're not religious at all. I don't even know if the woman would have gone to the mikvah. They would not be observant. Am I allowed to be Masader Kedushin? By the way, many Rabbanim do it without even thinking about it. Say, what could possibly be a problem here? What could be a problem? You're going to say you're assisting them to live together with a nida? They're living together anyway. They're already living together. What are you doing wrong? So, surprisingly, Rav Moshe held that you're not allowed to do it. Rabbi first told me that you can only be Masader Kedushin if the couple is not religious on two conditions. Number one, either if they're a member of your shul. If they're a member of your shul, you have a moral obligation to assist them in any halachic requests that they make. So they want to get married. They want to get married kahalacha. So it's your responsibility to facilitate their marriage kahalacha. But chances are it won't work out, right? Percentages in the world of marriages that are not religious, the overwhelming majority do not end well. Yeah, but and if it doesn't end well, in all likelihood they're not going to get a get. And if anyone lives with someone again, the children will be mamzerim. That's not your achrayus. Your achrayus is to help them. And right now they want to get married halachically. Or, even if they're not members of your shul, but if you could influence them, that would be another reason. But just to provide a free service to make money, right, first told me I can't do it. Okay, so I didn't accept. Why do I bring that up? Because we're going to speak now just briefly about the status of reform marriage. Is reform marriage a marriage? You say, of course not. How could it be a marriage? The rabbi is not shomer Torah mitzvahs. The Eidim will most certainly not be shomer Torah mitzvahs, and therefore the kedushin is invalid. And that is true. The kedushin, the kedushay kesef, has no validity. The kedushay kesef has no validity. But afterwards they go home, and they live together as husband and wife. Do we apply the rule, ein adam bayal bilasai bilasnos? See, maybe we do. Now, does that make sense? Ein adam bayal bilasai bilasnos? What have they been doing until now? We're talking about people who are not shomer Torah mitzvahs. Do we apply the rule, ein adam bayal bilasai bilasnos? Doesn't ein adam bayal bilasai bilasnos mean that someone has to be mechavein l'shem kedushin, and people are not shomer Torah mitzvahs? There's no way they're mechavein l'shem kedushin with the bia. However, based on the Gemara, we may see a basis for a new concept of ein adam bayal bilasai bilasnos. I just want to mention it, I guess, very briefly. I want to share with you a ritva and also the chiddush of Rav Henkin that Rav Moshe does not agree with. Let's see if I could pull this up. Let's start with the Gemara. Okay, you have the Gemara in Iyun Gimel Amud Beis. The Gemara says that Eisvei Abaye, it's like the 9th wide line. If you marry a woman in error, meaning you married her on condition she doesn't have nadarim, and she did, or less than a shavar pruta, or a katan shekidesh, even though he sent gifts afterwards, you're not married. because whatever gifts you gave after, you gave based on the fact that you thought the original kedushin was good and it wasn't. And then the Brisa brings a machlokes. What if you had bia afterwards? Tana Kama says kanu. Shimon Yehuda in the name of Shmuel says loy kanu. And the Gemara says this is ta'as isha achas. And we see there's a man da amar kanu. So the Gemara ultimately says, you know what the case of ta'as is? Ta'as is pachos mishava pruta. You thought that you could marry with less than a shava pruta, and it turned out you can't. The Gemara says, and what's the machlokes? Says the Gemara, b'mai kamiflagi, mar savar adam yedea she'in kedushin toivsim pachos mishava pruta. One man da amar, meaning Reb Shimon ben Yehuda mishum Rabbi Shmuel, he holds that, the Tanakama holds a person knows that you can't marry with less than a shav pruta, and therefore he is gamar ubaal l'shem kedushin. He knows you can't get married with less than a shav pruta, and therefore he does the bia l'shem kedushin. And the other opinion holds ein adam yedea she'ein kedushin tavsim pachos shav pruta. A person does not know that you can't get married with less than a shav pruta, and when you have bia, it's adaita the kedushin rishon and baal. So Gemara is bringing a machlokes. The Gemara says whether your kaina, this woman with bia after, is dependent on, do people know that you can't get married with less than a shav pruta? The Tanakama holds everybody knows you can't get married with less than a shav pruta. So when you have bia, you're gamar ubaal l'shem kedushin. The other man that Amar holds, no, people don't know that you can't get married with less than a shav pruta, and therefore when you have bia, it's adaita the kedushin harishainim. So the obvious question is, the $1 million question is, how could you say that everybody knows you can't get married with less than a shav pruta? The Tanakama holds everybody knows you can't get married with less than a shav pruta, but he married her with less than a shav pruta. What does the Gemara mean? Everyone knows, the Tanakama holds that everyone knows you can't get married with less than a shav pruta, therefore when he has bia, he's gamar v'kana l'shem kedushin. Well, if he knows you can't get married less than a shav pruta, why did he give her a half a penny and say Harei Mikudeshasli? Obviously, he didn't know. Okay, that's the question the Rishonim raised. Let me bring it up. Okay, this is a kasha the Ritva. Mar savar adam yadesh in kedushin toivsim pachos shav pruta v'gamar l'shem kedushin. Says the Ritva, adam yadeh lav davka. When the Gemara says everybody knows, it's lav dafka. The imkain hech kidsha metchila b'pachos mishava pruta. Then how did he marry her originally with less than a shav pruta? V'loy kidsha b'pruta. Elavadai, the Ritva says on the second to bottom line, hachi kamar. Kedushe pachos mishava pruta Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. He says a second question. Question number 2 is V'su mai kamahadar. What does the Gemara say back? Lamai debay to what it wants to say. B'mai kamiflagi. What do they argue on? Mai shna tas pachas mishava pruta mitas nadarim. Why is a mistake of less than a shav pruta any different than a mistake of nadarim? Da betas nadarim ikal meimar adam yadesh ilo yesh ba nadarim ena mikudeshes. Can you say the same thing by nadarim? That a person knows that if she has nadarim, can you say the same thing that a person knows that if there were nadarim, there's no marriage? So why don't we say he's ba'al Hashem kedushin? D'havadei kuli ama gemir de kedushin shem al tanai shem ein tanai kam she kedushin b'telem shal dazeh hisna betchila. Why don't we say the same thing that a person knows that if the tanai is not fulfilled, the marriage is off? That people know more than kedushin less than a shav pruta, because everybody knows if you marry a woman al tanai, if the tanai is not fulfilled, it's not a good marriage. Maybe some people don't know that less than a shav pruta is not a good marriage. So what would the difference be between a Tanai and less than a Shavar Pruta? Elavade Hachi Kamar. The Kedushay Tas, the Tanai, the Kpeda Didehu, the Toy Begufe, where it's a Tanai, where it's his Hakpada, where he makes a mistake in her guf. La'olam datay al Tanai, bechada stimas mihas. Then his mind is always on the Tanai. Uchshabayal al das Tanai bayal. And when he lives with her, it's al das the Tanai. V'loy machal midi, he's not moichal anything. Aval b'kedushay pachs mishav pruta, udek vasayu. Digriosa ditu, loy asi machmasei. But if in a situation where the deficiency is not because of him, because his das is that it's not that he knows that the Kedushin wasn't good. His mindset is, he wants to make this happen. His das is by Kedushin, beloy kpeda, that it should work without any question. Even though that when he's mekadosh with kesef or with shtar, he's sort of in doubt, it's not clear. But when he does bia, his das is v'datei likmar nesuin debiila zu kilu hu yada bebari shein kedushin b'chos m'shav pruta v'hainu sar d'rabanan. You see, when he makes a Tanai and the Tanai is not fulfilled, so then he's not getting what he bargained for, so then he's makbid on the Tanai. But when he marries this woman, it's not that he knows that you can't get married with less than a Shavar Pruta. He didn't know that. He tried to marry her with less than a Shavar Pruta. But his mindset is that whatever he's doing that could make this marriage effective, his mindset is he wants to. So even though the kesef he made a Tanai on, that Tanai was only because he wants to get what he bargained for. But regarding that his maisim should ultimately somehow get it done, so he wants to make sure that he gets it done. And therefore he's bayal l'shem kedushin. It's not that he's thinking, hineni muchan u'mazuman to be mekayim in the midst of kedushin, because he didn't think it didn't work the first time. It's just his general mindset is that he wants to make sure when he goes home that night, they're married. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do with this. Do you see now this Eitzar HaChachma? What do you see on your screen? Everyone's muted, so I don't know.
Well, the same thing.
Same thing? Okay, one second.
Yeah.
How about now? What do you see? Do you see Pirushay Ibra now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. This is Rav Henkin. These are the writings of Rav Henkin. Rav Henkin was asked about a reform marriage. And he basically says, there's a very big difference between Kedushay Kesef and Shtar and Kedushay Bia. Legabe Kedushay Kesef and Shtar, Rav Henkin is Mechadesh. You need Das, of course. We all know that. If you don't have Das Kinyan, it's ineffective. But Rav Henkin says Legabe Bia, you don't need Das Kinyan. All you need to think is, I'm living with this lady as husband and wife. So somebody who marries a woman with less than a Shavar Pruta and then lives with her, so he's trying to live with her like husband and wife. If that's the case, they're married. Rav Henkin is going on our Gemara in Kesuvos. The first paragraph, let's see if it is hard to read, but based on that, Rav Henkin concludes, reform marriage is a problem. And this is really what puts American Jewry in a very difficult situation, because unfortunately most Jewish marriages are not Orthodox marriages, but according to Rav Henkin, they're halachic marriages. The problem is the divorces are not halachic. So Rav Henkin says like this: The Gemara says, Amin l'Rav, Adam yadeh she'en kedusha ketana klum, v'gamar abala shem kedushin. The Rav Henkin quotes the question of the Ritva. Eich amrinan behu Adam yadeh. How could you say that this man, he knew kedushin does not work with less than a shav pruta? Obviously he didn't. He tried to marry her with less than a shav pruta. Okay. Ulefi hanal yisparesh de ahargashas halevkai. It's going on a certain feeling. The kinyan she'en mayal. A kinyan that doesn't help. Kamay pachas mishav pruta umilva. Ein kan smichas das behem lekinyan b'hargashas halev. There's no reliance as a feeling that this was effective. V'kivan shu margish shalei nigmar kinyan adayin. Since he's margish that the kinyan is not finished, hari komasha oisa b'shaychus the kinyan, whatever he does in relation to the kinyan, stama kamachavein dami. It's presumably he's machavein shari yesh kavana betchilas ha'inyan mahani kamay b'ksiva sefer tarkshik savnu el u'shmuel da amrina an ein adam yedei tzarch lefalish shel didai zehu kinyan chuki she'ein alev margish by kashu kinyan v'loy kishe'enai kinyan. The kivan shaladata nigmar hakinyan hu, according to Shmuel, in his mind the kinyan has been completed. So you know what it's like? It's ki oider benichsei hager ukesavar shalayin loikana. It's like if you dug in the possessions of a ger and you thought it was yours. Let's say somebody was digging. It's a Gemara Yevamos. Somebody was digging in the nechasim of a ger, which was hefker, and you thought it was yours. So you never had das kinyan. You're not koina. Upaskinon karav. Va'alkein havi bekansa kedushe vadai. Okay. Let's see how Rav Henkin applies this to Bia. Says Rav Henkin, V'ha nirali, D'lamaskana da'amar shetzricha get, Eina tam mishum da'adam yodeya. It's not that a person knows that the first kinyan was ineffective. Ela deloy ba'inan klal yediyah. It's that you don't need him to know. Where you know that it's in a situation of marriage and they want the marriage, then you don't need yediyah. Why is that? Why would Bia not need yediyah? In other words, what would the logic be? Husband and wife, they have a reform marriage. It's completely ineffective. There are no kosher edim. So they go home and they live together. He doesn't have kavana to marry her with that living together. He thought he was married 2 hours ago. So in other words, why would this be a good kedushin? Listen to this whopper. He says, "V'taima demilsa." It's not that he has das. The kivan shebiarnu mikoidim the bekinyan chatzer v'yad koina shaloi midatoi. Since we explained that kinyan chatzer and kinyan yad is kind of without das, mistaber the kinyan bia yachad im aknisa lebeisai l'shem nesuin kiyadoi v'chatzeroi damyan. Bia and achnasa lebeisai probably is the same as yad and chatzer. Da'afte misafkal and bia nesuin oisa erisin oisa, even though we have a suffix. Does bia do nesuin or erisin? Hainu bebia shaloi yechnisa l'shusa kinasua. That's a bia that you don't bring her into your house. But if you bring her into your house and you live with her, nesuin oiseh, it does nesuin. Upashtoi dekra dechiyikach ish isha ubala mashma shaboyala lenesuin. Kiyikach ish isha ubala, that implies you live with her for nesuin. Dekicha benesuin ksiv kamayasher aras isha v'loy lakacha. Va'amna migzer shava yalfinan degam kesef koina le'erasin. From Gzeir Shava we learn that kesef is koina for kedushin. Umamela gam bia lavad. Koina afil b'lo yachnasa. Aval ein mikra yotzim de pshutai. Umay rikra b'knisa ubia yachad. Sha'oisa nesuin ukedushin yachad. Ve'inyan abia yikara gamken ke'ein achnasa l'shusai. And it has a status of chotzer and yad. Ve'ikar shem be'ilahu al shem shebezehu nasa bala. Why is it called be'ila? Be'ila. It doesn't say bia, we call it be'ila. It says ki yikach eshisha uba'ala. Uba'ala means he becomes her baal. Did you realize that? The term ki yikach eshisha uba'ala is he becomes her baal. And he's koivesh her, meaning he sort of conquers her. He designates her. Shaloi tibal acherim v'shayach afilu be'erisin sha'isra akulei alma kehektish af sha'adayin eina bebeisai. There is a concept of bia by erisin, but what Rav Henkin's saying is that bia also creates an asuin, and therefore it has a status of chotzer and yad that you don't need das. Kvar darshu chazal ala pasuk vaybayem ahunum Hashem tikrili ishiv loy tikrili oid bali. By the way, we just had that in Kesuvos. Kechala beves chamiyav loy kechala beves avia. So, by the way, that implies that bali is less than ishi, which Rav Henkin says v'ner hakavana bazad the hevdel shebein arusal nesuahu. The difference between arusa and nesua is arusa is isser la'alma va'agida machmasai. She's usher to the world and she's connected to him because of it. But he doesn't have chiyuvim to her. But in nesua he has all the chiyuvim. So by erisin he's called a baal, which is a lashon of adnos. Nesuin he's ish ve'ishtai that they have chiyuvim. So Rav Henkin says ki yikach is kedushin al yidei kesef, ubala is al yidei kinyan bia. So the bia could make kedushin, but pashtus is it makes kedushin v'nesuin. We say regarding kinyan bia, heinen edei yichad, heinen edei bia, that if they're meyached l'shem bia, they're mekudeshes, even if they did not see that they had bia. Or if somebody's megaris ishtoi v'lanima b'pundaki, where we assume something happened. Basically, based on this Yesod, Rav Henkin says that Reform Kedushin, they are considered married halachically, and they would need a get. Now, Rav Moshe disagrees with this. Rav Moshe, in Even Ezer Siman Ayin Daled argues, he says they don't need a get, that by Kedushay Bia you still need Das Hashem Kedushin, and the Baal did not have Das Hashem Kedushin, because he's relying on the Reform Rabbi that the Kedushin was good. By the way, according to Rav Henkin, it would come out that if they have a civil marriage, it could be that if he's living together with her, like husband and wife, and they both have the wedding ring, that they would need a get. But it's sort of loosely based on our Gemara. Rav Henkin loosely bases it on this tzad in the Gemara, where the Gemara says, Adam yodeya shein Adam mekadesh b'pachzim sharpruta. What do you mean, Adam yodeya shein Adam mekadesh? He married her with less than a sharpruta. It seems like the answer is that when it comes to Bia, his mindset is that he wants to live together with her as husband and wife, and whatever Maisa he is doing, he wants that to be effective l'shem kedushin. Okay, Rabbi Isai, I'm going to wish you a wonderful day. Hatzlach, everyone. This week, Daf Ayin Daled. Kol Tov. Kol Tov.